Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are talking about how shorts are drowning in debt, the AMC floor price, short squeeze season, and many more in this video. First, we're taking a look at this. Yep, business as usual. So when we take a look at the comparisons of AMC, Cinemark, and IMAX, you can see the difference in performance. AMC down 2.24%, yet Cinemark's up 1.25%, and whilst IMAX isn't up like Cinemark, is not down 2.24% like AMC. And so this is a clear and obvious tell that AMC does not go along with the market despite what the box office does. It is not allowing us to have real price discovery, because if all of these other firms were to benefit off of box office going up, then so would AMC. Evidently, they are profiting because the box office is going up, yet AMC is not showing that in its price. And so from that, we obviously understand that they are manipulating us and the price every single day. And when we see these articles saying that AMC should not be bought, that you should buy its competitors, etc., you understand the reason why. And again, it's because they are worried about what there is to do with AMC, and this is a very obvious tell. Another big reason for why they're doing this, and it's because of what we have seen recently. You can see Ken Griffin is going bankrupt and drowning in interest on his swap positions. He's getting smoked on his AMC and GME short positions. His fate is sealed and he knows he is losing. And so recently, we've seen some things happening with Citadel. In the last few months, there's been a series of events, such as one of Citadel's pods blowing up, Citadel having to close out highly leveraged positions. Bear in mind, they were forced to close out these positions. Citadel losing every single month. Now, recently, we're seeing how Citadel has been complaining about the CAT system, how they're complaining about these private trading rooms, and then they're complaining about even dark pools. And now they talked about, and we covered this in yesterday's video, about how retail investors does not have an edge over institutions, and they're trying to persuade and downplay retail investors. So there has been so many things happening recently in regards to Citadel. And once again, if there are a firm who are making tens of billions of dollars in profit every single year, they wouldn't care about what's happening, or at least they wouldn't be in the position they are in right now. If they really are making the profits, they wouldn't be trying to borrow money. They won't need to do offerings in order to pay their investors back, because once again, why would you need to raise money if you made over $16 billion? And so it clearly just doesn't make sense. And so what we understand is that obviously they have some risky positions that's losing them money. Now, some were forced to close out and some aren't able to be closed, because if they close, then this will cause them to be bankrupt. And in this case, AMC and GME short positions. And so we know from this that they are, of course, getting smoked. Another big reason for why they can't close this is obviously because of the AMC floor price. So what we can see here is AMCfloor.com. Now, I want you guys to listen to this part carefully because it's very important. So first thing you can see, I see AMCfloor.com has been updated. Now, I have no idea what's behind that number, but given where AMC's run up in 2021 was capped, $700 adjusted for arrest, and expectations set by CEO Adam in 2022 at $250, by no means seems unrealistic. So the floor price right now is $4,200.69. Now, obviously, there's a big joking sentiment behind it because of the particular number. Now, do I think it can't go past and beyond that? Of course not. I'm not saying that $4,000 is unachievable, but I'm saying that right now, in terms of the number itself being given, there is obviously no exact data, precise data that's been formulated to give this number. There's obviously joking sentiment behind it, but it's also understanding about how AMC does have the ability to reach this price and even higher. Because when you take a look at some of the things that they obviously talked about in terms of what's happened, naked short selling, dark pools, spoofing, market manipulations, the list goes on. Again, the list doesn't even stop here. And in terms of talking about how AMC has some potentials, like we talked about growing revenues, diversified revenue streams, a growing market, and even potential of dividends coming soon, right? So there are so many things for AMC, and it's exactly why we talked about how AMC can actually reach this floor price and of course even higher. But it's because we know that. And then you take a look at what we talked about with Citadel. If Citadel has to buy back AMC and they have to buy back the billions of shares they've created, and they have to buy back each AMC share at $4,200, then you can obviously understand what will happen to them. And not just Citadel, but all of the institutions that have been involved and that has to buy back AMC shares. You can understand how we're going to be seeing multiple short firms all going bankrupt. And this could potentially, of course, lead on to even some of the banks because they are the prime lenders. And we know that actually there are banks who are also involved in the short selling of this. And this is why they are worried. This is why we haven't seen regulations being forced on this particular matter. Yet we've seen regulations being, here and there in all these other various industries. Now, one of the biggest part is that regulations tend to help out the institutions and not retail, but I do think that one of the biggest reasons is to understand that so many firms will go out of business when they cover AMC, and right now all they can do is delay it and hope that all retail investors will leave or that AMC will go bankrupt, but we know that that is not possible. Now you're seeing Charles V. Payne saying short squeeze season. So recently we already see him hinting at the short squeeze season, and now we're seeing it for HIMS. And what we can take a look is that HIMS has a squeeze, a high flow, and nice bullish technical pattern. But I do believe that he is hinting at other things, because we've seen how Charles Payne has been very vocal about AMC, has been very vocal about GME, and talked about the manipulation that's behind the scenes. And we've also seen him talk about the squeeze of AMC. And so when we see that he's talking about a short squeeze season, I'm pretty sure he's not referring to just one. I mean, I am pretty certain that he's obviously trying to hint at AMC and GME as well. And just like what we talked about with everything that is happening, it is not unusual for him to be hinting at this. And it's precisely because of this is that why I'm excited for the AMC floor price, why I know that Citadel and other short sellers as well are obviously bankrupt or going bankrupt and drowning in interest because of their swap positions, because of their FTDs, because of their financing of short positions, because of creating synthetics. So many things are keeping them right now having a lack of liquidity. And another thing is the news articles, right? We've talked about this particular news article, but I want to talk more about it because we're just seeing how one of the biggest things for AMC is about growing revenues, is about seeing how we're not performing in terms of price action as we are against other people. And that's because we're seeing news articles like this: 3 reasons to avoid AMC stock and 1 rival to buy instead. Now, from this, you can already gather what the institutions are trying to do, and you can understand why and how they are afraid of AMC. So when we talk about the fact that institutions are trying to manually get rid of the buy sentiment, this is one of their reasons why. And so when you see the fact that AMC is down 2.24%, yet Cinemark is up 1.25%, despite the fact they are in the same industry benefiting from the same thing, it's because you don't see articles like this saying 3 reasons to avoid IMAX, 3 reasons to avoid Cinemark, yet you see it for AMC. Now, it's not just AMC, because when you take a look at here, analysts, GameStop is still relying on fools to bid its shares higher. So now they're attacking the investors of GME. Now, bear in mind, we talked about GME yesterday. We talked about how they've recently raised a lot of money. They have an insane amount of cash to obviously make investments, and they are approaching the way like MSTR. Now, some people have different thoughts about Microsoft's strategy, but what we have to understand, MicroStrategy, but what they have to understand is that if GameStop is going to be operating in a similar way like them, why is it that fools are fools when they buy GameStop, but they're geniuses when they buy MSTR, right? And another thing is the very fact that if we're only seeing these articles on AMC and GME, it gives you an understanding of what they're trying to do. Another thing, when you're taking a look at GameStop price, GME, you can see this particular thing. Time to sell GME, question mark. This is when you're looking at GME. They're trying to give you an incentive to sell GME by literally having something that says time to sell GME ? Now, this is going to have multiple effects. Firstly, potentially a call to action. Secondly, subconsciously affecting you. Thirdly, it's obviously creating a negative effect because this is obviously trying to give a bad sentiment. It's trying to give a bad stigma to AMC, and that's what they are doing. And so this is why we've talked about the very fact we are seeing them do this makes us understand that they are worried about AMC and GME. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching this video. I'll catch you guys next time.